Hello, podcast listeners. This is Ed Franklin with the Ed Franklin No Limits podcast. How you doing today? Happy New Year again. I hope if you had any resolution that you're conquering those and just killing it. And if you haven't had any, it's not too late. And if you just don't do those, hey, that's on you. I think we all have to be a little ambitious, especially the older we get. I think we lose some of that ambition, and I think it's important to keep that fire burning. You can always contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. Um, a funny thing, I don't really believe in coincidence. I think everything happens for a reason. And I had started this podcast twice today and decided, look, I needed to slow down. I was just talking too fast. And I decided to go to the grocery store, and take Carson he was dropping off an application. And Carson and I got into a conversation about careers and things like that. And he was asking me, um, about will I get back to where I want to be, or will I get to where I want to go? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you need to keep pushing forward and things like that. And I said, I really miss having the kids around, having all the kids. For 13 years in a row, I drove the kids to high school, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the sports they played. I enjoyed the noise in the house and the movement. And we don't have it as much now as we did. We do have Carson and Piper here, but um, it's not the same. And I enjoyed when the kids were here and we were very busy. We don't do a lot of things outside of our home life, so we either need to change that, or I need to get busier. I told him I really missed when I was running the chamber and I was working at Allstate, because I was just busy all the time. And he said something really profound, and this is where the coincidence part comes in, which I don't believe in those. He said, "Do you feel like you need to be needed?" And I said, Carson, I do. I enjoyed uh, that's why I like leadership. That's why I like management. I like to be in charge of things. It's not necessarily my ego. I like to be needed. I like people to need me to make decisions or to help them further their life. So, yes, Carson, I do need to be needed. I like it to be needed. I'm hoping this podcast and my speaking when I get rolling will give me that same satisfaction of needing to be needed, and to be able to help people like the listeners that are listening right now and other people outside, that I can offer some knowledge or wisdom that I've learned over the years and help them navigate whatever they're navigating through. Um, he's very concerned that he needs to pick what he wants to do right now. And he's only 17 years old. And we all know at 17, we probably wanted to do 100 things that we never ended up doing. And shame on us, possibly, because I think some of those dreams we had, we might still have in the back of our head. So, speaking of that, this podcast is going to be about something I saw on TikTok. And just, I kind of owe Grant Cardone an apology, I think. And it's not, I've always said that I don't care for him and I don't like him. And I don't know why I've done that, why I say those things. I don't know him. He has a lot of irons in the fire. He's very motivated, he pushes forward a lot. I assume he's very wealthy. He talks about that a lot. And I mean, good for him. Good for him. But in a lot of levels, he's encouraging, and he wants people to be successful. I hope that's his general intention. But I saw him on a TikTok, and what he was talking about is he was on a podcast with this guy, and he said, there are in Chat GPT. If you haven't used Chat GPT, it's pretty interesting. If you have Bing or something, you just put Chat, Jesus, Chat GPT, ask a question. Like, I used it for a description for a job opportunity that we're offering an intern at Poway Unified School District. And you can ask it a question and it'll give you whatever information it has. And it's using artificial intelligence, which I'm reading a book on that right now. It's very interesting. And that's a good topic for another podcast. But he typed in, what if the devil didn't want you to be successful? And he listed these 9 things, just boom, 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 boom. And at the end, I'll tell you what he said when I'm done. He didn't elaborate on any of these things, and I want to elaborate on them because I think they're important. So the first thing that he said the devil would tell you or do for you is he would he would fill your minds with doubt and fear. Now, all of us, if we've ever wanted to try something, a new business, a podcast, writing, anything, going to the gym, exercising, reading, whatever it is. If you have doubt or fear, you're not going to be good at it if you even do it. You might start it, but if you still have that doubt and fear and that's in your mind and you cannot get rid of that doubt and fear, more than likely you're not going to accomplish what you're set out to accomplish. I wouldn't say you'd be failing, but I would definitely say that you aren't carrying through with what you promised yourself. And the worst person you can break a promise to is yourself. Now, I've told you several times that I get up at 3:45 in the morning and I'm at the gym at 5 o'clock when they unlock the doors. I'm back to that. And there's a total sense of accomplishment when you do that. Now, I don't want to do that every day, by the way, but I push through and I go anyway. And I would make excuses if I didn't go, and excuses are just bullshit. You're just lying to yourself. So if he installed that doubt and fear in your mind, you wouldn't try anything, and thus you'd never be successful at whatever you wanted to do. You just have this normal, boring life that if that's what you want, that's awesome. I can assure you, most of you, it's not what you want. You want to have more. You want to have not necessarily money. You want to have more fulfilling experiences. You want to travel. You want to do some other things. And if you have that doubt and fear, you're never going to get started on anything that's going to push you towards those things. I always say at the beginning of the year, so we go to Vegas every June. I want to go there and look presentable, at least without a shirt and things like that. And is it ego and vanity? Yeah, I guess it is, but it's also what I'm driven to do. And I will get there again. The second thing he mentioned was that he would make sure that those people focused on instant gratification. Anything that's worthwhile is not going to happen overnight unless you hit the lottery or something, which is, the odds aren't super good you're going to do that. If you want to get in shape, or you want to, write a book, or you want to do any of these things, it's going to take time to do these things. And you got to put the work in up front. One of the things I was telling Carson as we were driving is if you look at statistical information about very wealthy people, most wealthy people built that from nothing or from very little. It's not a bunch of wealthy people that inherited everything. A lot of these people you see on TikTok or whatever, they built a business, a coaching business, a speaking business, whatever kind of business. They built it from the beginning. And it was not easy when they started, and they wanted to quit. I'll guarantee you, if you ask anybody that's successful, they wanted to quit at some point. They just thought it was too much work, but they kept grinding and grinding and grinding. And that's how they got. So they got rid of that instant gratification need or want or desire, and they knew they had to put the work in, and that's why they're where they're at. He said the devil would surround you with negative influence. This is a big one. When I was a kid, my mom would always tell me I should go to work for the post office. It's a good job. I could retire there. It's an easy job. And it wasn't that she was being negative. She was just trying to be a mom, right? Trying to give me something stable. But it wasn't something I wanted to do. I wanted to be a little more of a risk taker. I wanted to do some other things. And when you get around people, and I tell you, when I tell people that I want to go out and speak, I don't get, no, you can't do it or you won't be successful. But I do get I can tell they're rolling their eyes in their head, right? Like, how do you make money doing this? There's tons of people doing it. But if they don't know anybody that's doing it, they don't even know that it's a feasible thing to make a living doing. And it's something I want to do. I want to do it badly. So anybody who, those eye rollers and that, I stay away from those people. I stay away from negativity. Kit and I have to tell each other sometimes not to talk like that about ourselves and say something good. It's hard. I know it's not easy. If you have to tape something that says, I love you on the mirror, so you read it to yourself when you get up in the morning, do whatever you have to do to keep that positive energy going. Most of you know I do a positive post every morning when I wake up, usually at 3:45 or 4 in the morning. And it's not always for you. A lot of times it's for me that I need to put something out there positive in the world, and then go to the gym and keep that mindset, that positive mindset. So stay away from negative influences. Don't read books that have that. You don't need to watch movies that have that. Nothing. I saw a guy the other day on TikTok again that was talking about how much of a waste of time sports is. And I completely agree with this guy. Sitting down and watching a bunch of men run around in football uniforms, basketball uniforms, baseball, whatever, is such a waste of time to me. And I know people enjoy it. It's obviously there's billions of dollars being made off of it, but it's such downtime when you could be doing something else, reading a book or going to the beach or doing something else. I just think it's a waste of time, and that's that. I think that's kind of their negative, that negative energy that I'm talking about. The whole world's telling you can't do it, especially rich people. A lot of times will tell you can't do it because they want to stay in that position of power or whatever. The best and most successful people will help you become successful too, and that's the person you need to be to help your friends, kids, anybody. I always tell my daughter, my oldest daughter, she would ask me a question about her career or school or something, and I'd say, "What would you tell your daughter?" And she, of course, would say, "Well, I'd tell her that she should go for it." I said, "Well, then there you go. There's your answer. I'm going to tell you the same thing. You're my kid. You can go for it. You can do this." So get that negative influence shit out of your life. If you have to put notes all over the house or do something or listen to music that brings you back to positivity, then do that. He also said the devil would remove their sense of urgency. There would be no hurry. Now, another conversation Carson and I were just having was about your clock's ticking, right? I'm 62. I'll be 63 this year. I don't have 60 more years. I don't have 50 more years. I probably don't have 40 more years. I'm lucky if I have 30 more years. Time goes by really fast, and it feels like when you get older, it even goes by faster. I mean, my daughter is going to be 39 this year. She just turned 38. Time is flying by. My grandkids are growing up. My body's changing. A lot of things are getting different. You need to have some sense of urgency. This is lacking a lot with millennials. They don't have this sense of urgency. They think tomorrow is going to be fine. Tomorrow's going to be fine. Well, tomorrow comes and goes really quick. So if you want to do something in your life, if you have this dream, if you have this desire, have some sense of urgency to get it done. Put it down on a paper. Give yourself a calendar when you're going to start this thing, when you're going to do these things. Little baby steps, right? By Friday, I'm going to do this. I'm going to read a book by Friday. I'm going to read half a book by Friday, whatever it is. These little goals will turn into bigger goals and they'll stack on top of each other. Number 5 was make them remain comfortable. I know in my life there were times when I had plenty of money, when I everything was paid, everything was good. I would get comfortable, party a little too much maybe, and that comfortability was not good for me. When you're that comfortable, you get complacent and you stop setting goals and you stop moving forward. And lo and behold, you become behind. So 6 months after you're comfortable, now you're 6 months behind on those goals. And I know you're listening to this and you're thinking it's not happened to you. It's happened to you. You've gone through this because none of you that listen to this on a regular basis that I know of are exactly where you want to be. And if I sat down and talked with you about what your goals were and where you wanted to be, you would start to think, man, I need to get on this because time is running out. We're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised tonight. We don't know what's going to happen. So get that sense of urgency and keep that sense of urgency. It's not a state of panic. It's just a state of, hey, I promised myself I was going to the gym tomorrow. I'm going to the gym tomorrow at this time. If something comes up, then something comes up and you go as soon as you're done with that. Number 6, make that person think that they had to have a plan for everything and use procrastination as an advantage. This is a big one. I fall into this a lot of times where I have to have a plan. I have to have everything spelled out. You do not have to have everything spelled out. You start with one thing and the next thing will come. You can try to make an outline, but it's going to change. And I've heard Mark Cuban talk about this and some of the other guys from the Shark Tank. This you can make all the plans you want. Just be ready because they're going to change a lot. People are going to come into your life. Different things are going to happen. Opportunities are going to come. Opportunities are going to go. You need to have kind of an outline of a plan. But if you think you're going to be able to plan everything, man, I'll tell you, my life, you guys have heard about my life on this podcast. You think I planned all that shit? Stuff happens and you have to adjust. Tony Robbins said one time, you can't put an autopilot on an airplane to go to Hawaii and these places where you have to fly over the ocean because of the trade winds change so much that you have to have somebody adjusting that path. You're going to need to adjust your path as you go. Those trade winds will come. They can come in a lot of different forms. I never, looking back, I always wanted a lot of kids. I don't know if I wanted 8 kids. I love that I have 8 kids, but that's not what my plan was. So I adjusted as we went. I never knew I was going to meet Kit. I did meet Kit, 2 more kids, so which equals 8. I have 20 grandchildren now. Never in my wildest dreams, I thought I'd have 2, 3, maybe. In fact, I didn't even think I'd have grandkids. I didn't know I was going to get this old. I didn't know I was going to make it this far. So, and I love every bit of that. But my point is I didn't have not have a plan for that, and I'm glad I didn't, because if I would have had a plan, it would have, you know, it wouldn't have gone the way I wanted it to. Number 7, the devil would erode your confidence. He would make you look in the mirror and say, I can't do this. Or there's smarter people doing what I'm doing. I got news for you. It has some to do with brains, but it's got more to do with how when you getting your ass up and getting things done, right? It's maybe 10% brains, it's 90% will, it's 90% discipline, not motivation. Motivation is a great emotion for about 5 minutes. You get motivated. Inspiration works for about 10 minutes. Discipline works forever. Part of the reason I go to the gym is it's discipline, right? I know that I've done what I said I was going to do. I promised myself and I went. Discipline, discipline. And the same people are there all the time. So these people are all have the same discipline I do, and some of them more so. And you can see it in the way they're built and things like that. And some younger people I see getting in there at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not easy getting up that early. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's easy for me now, but when I tell people I do that, they're like, "Are you out of your mind?" Because it is kind of out of the realm of normalcy, right? Number 8, make them focus externally and not internally. Look, you all know what you need to do, and you know that you have it inside of you. If you look outside externally for people to help you, for people to do it their way, it's not going to work. You need to believe in yourself. I talked about this on the last podcast. You need to count on yourself. You need to bet on yourself. You can do anything you want to do. You have no limitations except the ones you're putting on yourself. So when you're thinking about things, keep that internal. You don't need to tell everybody what you're doing, by the way. Sometimes that's the worst thing you can do, because you tell them and they're like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you can do that. Well, I fucking know I can do it, so I'm going to do it. We have to start thinking internally. If you believe in God, which I wholeheartedly do, there's a funny thing. People will pray and pray and pray, and I get that, and I do too. I'm in constant state of prayer. Sometimes I think God also gave me skills. He gave me talents. He gave me a personality. He gave me this, gave me that, made me tall, whatever, did different things that I can use to my advantage. There's a saying in the church, I guess, I don't know where I've heard this, but I've heard prayer without works is useless. You got to do something. He gave us this ability. He kept me healthy. I have all my limbs. I can go to the gym and work out. I don't have any, I shouldn't say I have any pain. I am 62, but I don't have a bad back or bad knees or any of those things unless I brought them on myself. I don't have a disability. I don't have a speech impediment. I don't have any of those things. So God's given me these things and I need to use them. I need to help people. I have compassion. He gave me a lot of compassion and I like to help people. This is what this podcast started out to be about. And it's kind of become maybe kind of a picture of my life, which I hope that some of the things I talk about, I'm teaching you a lesson about something that could happen to you or something that's happened to you. When we talk about trauma next week, I'm going to do a very heavy podcast about trauma, and I want you to tune into this. It's not going to be about the sad thing about death and tragedy and all these things. It's going to be about the fact that we all have to deal with it and we need to cope with it so we can continue to do all the things I just said. Um, like have that confidence, work internally, do all those things. And the last one he said, and this one really points to me, I would give them poor habits. So y'all know I've smoked, I've drank, I've not eaten right, I've done all these things, and they're bad habits. They're not. It's not just because, right? It's because I choose to do those things, and we need to start choosing to do other things. If you have bad habits, and you try to go to the gym, it's going to kill your discipline. Eating too much sugar is going to kill other part of your body. It's going to make your blood sugar raise up. It's going to depress you. It's going to do a lot of things. So those bad habits, you got to get rid of, right? And if you need to buy a book and do it, then buy a fucking book and read it on bad habits. Don't quit everything tomorrow, but maybe just baby steps again, one thing at a time. Get rid of those bad habits. So the funny thing about this TikTok is at the end he goes, well, so if you want to be successful, you just have to reverse all these things. Well, that's really easy to say, and I know he only had a few minutes, and he might have elaborated on it later in the podcast. I didn't see the podcast stopped then. But go back and think about these things. You know, doubt and fear. Jesus, excuse me. The devil would fill your mind with doubt and fear. Got to get over that. He'd concentrate on instant gratification. Things are going to take a while. Negative influence. Get away from negativity. Just get away from it. If those people are your brothers and sisters or parents, stay away from them. You can see them at holidays, but when you're talking about your dreams and things, don't let them infect you with their negativity. Find somebody who's positive. Send me an email. Go send me a text. Send me a messenger, something. I'll get you built back up. You need to build yourself up, though, because when I get off the phone with you or I get off the email, you're going to go right back into where you're at. You can't do that. Write things down. I take a lot of notes, just random notes I take down on a regular basis at 4:30, 5 o'clock at night. I'll just write down note, whatever comes to my mind. I try to read as much as I can. I try to put positive knowledge into my brain. Um, you know, Focus internally, not externally. Get rid of those bad habits. Don't worry about a plan. Just get started. Just start. There's a saying that says, you don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great. Remember that sentence. You don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great. Have a sense of urgency. Give yourself a timeline. I go on my calendar and put in things and I say, what's 90 days from today? And then I put a note in. So every morning I wake up, I look at my phone, it has that note. And right now mine says kick ass. That's what it says. So every morning I look at my phone, the calendar update says kick ass. Don't be so comfortable. I know comfortability is nice. And Carson said to me when we were driving, he says, you just want to go and like lay on a boat and relax. I said, no, I'm not. It's not my personality. I could not do that. But I like to relax for a short periods of time, right? I would just like to relax for a weekend here and there. And I want to because I'm not in the place I'm at, I have a hard time relaxing because I have that sense of urgency, right? And is that healthy to live like that? Well, if I didn't have it, I would not going anywhere. So I want to go somewhere. So I gotta have to have that sense of urgency. Um, I've always been like that. I've always been a little wound up, a little bit excitable, a little bit have some anxiety. I kind of feel like that keeps me alive. So anyway, and what else? That was it. So these are all these things I talked about before. This kind of just came in a different format from something I saw on TikTok. And um, anyway, I just noticed I don't have my green screen down, but it looks like it's working fine anyway. So I guess I didn't need to have that. Um, Look, we're starting the new year. I know, resolutions are bullshit. I make them, I swear to God, every 2 weeks I have a new resolution. I have something. I tweak what I'm doing. I get different programs that I can use for my podcast. I find different things I can use to my advantage. I read, I talk to people. I'll just text somebody. I've started a little group with a couple of buddies of mine that we talk about just these things that we want to get over, and we want to try some things that, you know, frankly are kind of just not normal, right? We want to do some things outside of what our jobs are. And I know everybody's listening to this has something they want to do. And like I said, it could be something really minor. It could be major. It could be wanting to get a new job, going back to school. I have a friend of mine I worked with at Pepsi that is getting all these certificates and she's getting her degree. And I think it's wonderful that she's doing this. She's so excited about this because she's putting in the work. I have so many people around me that are trying to do better, and we all need to encourage each other. Last thing I'll say, I was telling Carson, you understand that all these TikTokers and these YouTubers and these people on Facebook that appear really successful, and they could be, I'm sure not all of them are, but they're working on it. They are just normal people. They're just like us. There's no reason we can't do what they're doing, right? We have to have some content. We have to have some consistency. We have to have some discipline. We have to do these things. There's no reason you couldn't do that, right? Um, there was a TikTok I saw the other day that I haven't listened to talking about there's things that people want to learn from you, like in sales. Had a sales class today and last week. Worst sales class I've ever been to, these two sales classes for my job. And I don't know if they've dumbed it down because some of the people are very young and they don't know anything about sales. So they're kind of trying to do a sales 101. But I just don't think the guy that's teaching it is much of a salesman, and he has no enthusiasm. It's like listening to, the guy on Ferris Bueller. I mean, he's so dry that nobody can leave these meetings excited. And then on top of that, he's burning up an hour and a half a week just on training you on stupid shit. So look, I know I get on off course on these podcasts sometimes. I just want to talk to you and I want to grow this podcast. So do me a favor. I have a new program that's going to break this up into clips. Please share my podcast and I'll put it on the thing when I say share it to other people. You may hate me. You may not want to listen to me. Let's give someone else a chance to hate me or not listen to me, right? Just keep sharing it and sharing it and sharing it. I need numbers, right? I need to get this thing out there and I'm doing everything I can to do that. So if you have an opportunity, if you listen to the podcast, I really appreciate it. If you could just please share it to your group of friends on Facebook, at least maybe Instagram, I would appreciate it. And I always would love, and no one's ever done this in the 4 years I've kind of done this podcast on and off, sent me an email and said, "Hey, good job." Right. I've gotten some texts and things like that, which it just floors me when I get that because I'm so excited about it. So look, have a happy new year. I'm going to be back, a lot more consistency, a lot more discipline. I'll do another podcast next week. You do not want to miss any of my podcasts, but this one especially you want to watch. This one's it might jerk at your heartstrings a little bit, but it's super important and you'll know why when you get it. So you can always contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. I have a Facebook page for my Ed Franklin at No Limits. I have my regular Facebook page. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. On LinkedIn, all those places you can send me a note. Keep up the good fight. Look in that mirror every morning and give yourself that confidence to take on the day. You can do it. It's just a little bit of self-talk in a positive way, not negativity. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, share this podcast. Contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. I love all of you. I really do. And I will see you very soon, and we can keep this podcast rolling and just kick some ass.